Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I've got a new flashlight that we're going to go through and unbox today. This is the Convoy M2 and my version comes with the CULPM1.TG emitter. So it's a slightly larger and brighter version of the NM1 emitter that I have in my C8 Plus, and it's one that I've really wanted to try out, especially in a small package like this, so that I can use it as more of an EDC with decent throw. And that's one of the reasons why I got this M2 host as well. It's one of the smallest hosts that you can buy from Convoy, but it still has a decently sized reflector in there so that it's useful for at least a few hundred meters. But I'm going to have to actually test this out using my light meter and calculate the throw figures later on. But let's get straight into it. And, as per usual with Convoy, you get pretty basic kind of packaging. This is just a little white cardboard box, and it's been knocked up a little bit from the shipping, but minimalistic. I like it. It just has what you need on there. As long as the light works, does what it needs to do, I'm happy. And this is the M2 itself, a little bit of bubble wrap. And the thing I really like about the M2 is that it actually comes with its own little pocket clip here. And I've noticed with some of the S2 Plus clips and S2 clips, whatever, they actually have a really thin ring there. And I've heard that it does snap off. You've got to be careful with that. So I like that this one's a little more sturdier. It actually comes with the flashlights. You don't have to pay any extra. Classic Convoy anodization. It's nice and smooth, matte black. Look at that reflector in there. It's really deep. It goes all the way through to the bottom of the head, about here. And here's that PM1 emitter. You can see a little bit of that yellow dye right at the bottom. It's kind of rectangular shape, a bit different, differently shaped from the NM1, which is more of like a squarish shape and is smaller, I believe, as well. So this one should produce more lumens and also not get as hot. So we'll see how we go. And look at that. It's been sealed very nicely. Not a speck of dust on here. Can you open up the top of it? You probably can. Yeah, the bezel here, which is interesting. It's a stainless steel bezel, and you've got the glass AR anti-reflective glass directly underneath. Is there a bit of? I thought there might be a little gasket or something underneath. There isn't. Oh, there is underneath the glass. There is underneath the glass, but not actually underneath the bezel. I'm not going to open it up because I know that I'm just going to get some. I'm just going to get some dust underneath there, like I did with my C8 Plus. But for those of you who like modding your lights, you can't get any better than this, really. You can open up the whole thing, change it up, especially later on if some new emitters come out. You can swap them over. Let's have a look. Open this up. So mine didn't come with the battery, and you can see here there's a tail spring, a head spring there. Okay, and you got one right at the end as well on the tail, like that. Okay, it's almost like tactical style, and I've always wanted to see Convoy make a light or incorporate just a basic momentary tactical switch on their lights. I think that would really add so much value to what they're already offering, which is fantastic value. Let's have a look. What else? You can see one of the things I'm noticing already compared to the M21B, it's a lot smaller. Feels a lot smaller in the hand, and especially the head as well. So it does make a difference when you're carrying something like this around in your pocket. Even a few millimeters does make a difference, and it'd be interesting to actually compare this to my other Convoy M21B. But so far, I'm very happy with the construction of this light, and I'm interested to see how it actually performs. So an interesting thing that I've noticed is that the version that I have, the CULPM1 .tg emitter version, is not available anymore on the Convoy store. Perhaps they've run out of stock. I'll contact Simon and see what he has to say, but there is still the NM1 version, which will throw further as well. So it's also cheaper, $35 Australian. select the different LEDs. You can also get it with the 519A and the LH351D LED. This one here is that NM1.TG emitter, so the smaller version and the throwier version of what I have in the light at the moment. It only comes with one color temperature. But yeah, the cool thing about this light is that, yeah, it comes with a clip. It's 18650, so it's got a smaller footprint, but also has a decently sized reflective throw, so you don't have to completely compromise on throw. So let's have a look here. You can get a version of the M2 as well with the SST40. No SFT40, unfortunately. You can select between different groups, so basically different modes on the flashlight. What else do we have here? This is the other one, comes with an XML 2U2. I think this is a pretty old emitter, but I've not seen too many people use those lately. Again, this one comes with the NM1 emitter, but you can actually choose the different color, or the color that you'd like for the emitter. So apparently the green one throws significantly more than the white one, so they are priced differently as well. 39, 38, it's not significant. So yeah, 38 to $39. I ended up going with the PM1 emitter because I thought that was the perfect balance between, just overall light output, produces more light than the NM1, but also throws a great distance. But I'm not sure why they don't have that available anymore. I'll again reach out to Simon and see if he has something to say about that. You can see here the M2, another version of the M2. This one comes with an XHP 50.2 emitter. Again, you can choose between the different groupings, and the color temperature just at 6500K. I've seen this emitter used in a lot of tactical flashlights. It's a good all-rounder LED that throws, that has a decent throw. There's a lot of flood and also some decent throw too. So Convoy is one of those brands that you can just get so many different variants, and in terms of customization, put together that light that you really want, and just having a look at what's available, just even the stock options, you have so many different choices to go for, and a lot more than the standard choices you get from most other flashlight companies anyway, and not to mention the fantastic price that you get on their lights. So they are just unbeatable. What I'll do is I will leave a link in the description if you want to check out the Convoy M2. You have to look at the store, the Convoy store as well, if you want to have a look at the different variants yourself and perhaps buy one of these. So I ended up getting my own battery. This didn't come with a battery. This was the one that actually came, the little color battery came with my Convoy C8 Plus, 30 amp, 35 amp draw apparently. So chuck it in here and screw that back on. Nice snug sort of fit. Yep, that definitely works. Okay, so I'm gonna have a little play around with this flashlight. I'm gonna do some beam shots and also do some throw tests, distance tests with my Opal Lightmaster 3, and I'll get back to you after a week of using it with my final thoughts. Convoy M2 with PM1. This is on highest mode. Very easily reaches the trees all the way in the back. It's amazing how far it throws for such a small reflector.
Convoy M2 on high. Some trees closer by, and the water, bit of a pond over here. You see these trees that are a bit closer, and also ones at the top here. Say they're about 50 meters away. All the way to the back there, where that lamp is. See a couple of those lamps easily illuminating the area, and with the naked eye it's actually much easier to see the what's in the spill beam. Very strong thrower, especially for its size. There's a little silhouette of the trees. Someone walking over there. There they are. M2. M2 on 100%. M2.
Welcome back, and I've used the Convoy M2 for over a week now, and can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I found my new favorite EDC. It's just amazing. It's got this fantastic throw that beats my FC12, and yeah, just really impressive. But I'll go through all the different points, so make sure you hang around as I'll help you decide whether this is the right light for you. I really like how it fits in my pocket quite easily, and it's, you know, with a lot of EDCs, especially lights that are marketed as EDCs, sometimes the heads are just too large for you to comfortably fit them in your pocket. I mean, you can still carry a lot of those around, but the M2 has a 31mm head, and for some of you, you might think that's still a little bit too large, but, you know, especially if you want a light that can throw a decent distance, there's really no other option out there unless you go LEP, and LEP again has a very different beam profile. Some of you may not like that for its practicality, and they're also quite expensive too. So I do like that it fits in your pocket and comes with this clip as well. I know a lot of Convoy lights just don't come with an included clip, but the M2 does for some reason, and it's nice. It's not painted. I find that for some reason, a lot of the clips that I get, the paint just starts to chip off and it looks a bit messy. So I like that it's just the bare sort of steel, as you can see. So over here you can see the Convoy M2 on the right, and I've got a few other pocket throwers that I want to compare and just show you the difference in size. And the first one obviously is my Workhorse FC12, and you can see it's pretty similar in size except for the head. The head's just a little bit larger, and I always was wondering, what would one of those NM1 or PM1 emitters look like inside the FC12? But with the M2, with that larger reflector, you certainly get a huge amount of throw. With this, I'll go through the actual figures later, but you can see here, this is my Spear's M4 Convoy M21B, which is also a similar size, but does feel a little bit chunkier in the pocket. Takes a different battery as well, 21700 cell, and of course here my Sofern IF22A. And I think the point that a lot of people make is, when you have a flashlight that's got quite a large head, it can be tricky to actually keep it in your pocket. It feels a little bit uncomfortable. Even if you get extra throw out of it, you might be unwilling to actually carry that around, put it in your pocket in the first place. That's why I actually found myself carrying around this one more than the others, just because it's just easier to fit in my pocket and I can sort of forget about it. So the M2 fits my requirements in terms of portability and just like practicality, being able to carry this thing around. So that's why I really like it. So let's talk a bit about the LED and lens, bezel, reflector, that sort of thing. And what I noticed when I first got this light was that the LED is perfectly centered. I found that on my C8 Plus after using it for a little while. I realized that the LED wasn't 100% centered, and it was something I didn't notice at the beginning, but especially when I just unscrewed the bezel and tried to fiddle around with it inside, put it back on, that's when I noticed it was quite difficult to get the reflector to line up. And this one here comes perfectly centered. Also, as I mentioned before, it has the CULPM1 emitter, and this LED has a 40/40 footprint. What that means is that in the inside there, you can see the yellow phosphor of the LED and that kind of white square around it. So that's 4x4 millimeters. So it provides a bit more surface area to connect on to the actual board in there, so that the heat's dissipated better, so it creates a bit more better heat transfer. So I went for this PM1 over the SFT40 as it just throws a bit further. And some of you might prefer the SFT40 because it produces higher lumens, you can drive it harder. But for me, I just wanted to prioritize that maximum throw, and also I just prefer the color tint of this one. It's more warm, and I know the highest bin PM1 emitters are capable of producing 2000 plus lumens at 8 amps, and I'm not sure what bin this one is. It probably produces well over 1000 lumens. But there's also the NM1 emitter that you can get with this flashlight. As I mentioned at the start of the video, for some reason, it doesn't seem like the PM1 is available now in the M2, or it just might be out of stock. I need to speak to Simon about that. But the NM1, if you choose to get that emitter instead of the PM1, can actually throw further, but with a reduction of maybe 300 or so lumens. I really like the tactical style bezel. I mean, I see on a lot of Convoy lights, even ones that are more expensive, they don't come with that stainless steel bezel design. And the M2 is actually a bit cheaper than the M21A and the M21B. So for whatever reason, it comes with a few little bells and whistles, namely this clip and the stainless steel bezel that doesn't come with the others. You need to buy them separately, even with the S2, S2 Plus smaller lights. I also like these cutouts on the bezel as well. Has that kind of tactical look, and when you turn the flashlight on, you can see that it's on easily like that. The reflector is a 25mm smooth reflector, and that is more than sufficient for you to create a very throwy beam, especially with an emitter with such a small die surface like the PM1 or the NM1 emitter. And I've seen deep reflectors that have just a smaller diameter that can throw fairly far as well. I think this one's kind of a combination of both. It goes fairly deep, roughly, almost the entire length of the head, but also has some decent width on it. And it's a it's a good middle ground, especially as I mentioned before, as an EDC, you don't want a really large head, as it just makes it difficult to carry around in your pocket, portability reasons. Now, the UI is really interesting. You got 12 selections with my model anyway, so basically you can go through and select them. You switch the light on, press that button on the back, half press it 20 times, and you get into the UI selection mode. There's a whole bunch of selections that you can choose from. You can have the light on 100%, for example, and that's the only mode that will turn on. If you want it to be that way, you can have it on low modes, so 0.1, 1%, 10%, and 35%. You can have a whole different bunch of modes. There's also a bike flashy mode, battery check mode, and there's also a strobe mode that's included with these 12 different selections. So I've actually set mine to the selection where you get 3 different modes. So you got sort of the low, medium, and high. I think it's 1%, 20%, and 100%. So that works really well for me, just so I don't have to cycle through all the different modes. Initially, I also set it to 5 modes. I think it was 0.1, 1%, 20%, 35%, and then 100%. That's also pretty good if you don't mind cycling through them. But just for ease of use, and for most cases I'm using it on 100%. That's why I set it to just the three modes. Just makes it easier. So let's talk a bit about performance in terms of the output, beam profile, longevity. And what I found was in previous reviews, a lot of reviewers were noting that there was a ring pattern with this LED, with the PM1 LED and this M2 host. And something I was expecting when I used it. But as you can see with the beam shots, it's not really there. Maybe just on the outer edge, there's sort of a lighter ring maybe formed by the bezel. But apart from that, looking at the beam shots compared to the ones I've done recently, there's practically no ringiness in the beam, and I wonder if that's due to just a swap in the gasket. As you can see in there's like a little black gasket in there, and it actually sits and helps center the LED. I found that with my C8 Plus, the gasket was actually sitting behind the reflector and didn't go inside it to help center it. So yeah, this is a slightly different design, maybe, I'm not sure, but I haven't noticed any ringiness in the beam, which is fantastic. Using my Opal Lightmaster Pro, I measured 656 meters throw, so that's really impressive. Considering how small this light is, it's just tiny, fits in your palm of your hand, in your pocket, and my C8 Plus, which has about a kilometer throw, but the head has, I think, 40 something millimeters. That thing's not really going to fit in your pocket, but you can get 66%, 2/3 of the throw with just a smaller reflector like this that you can easily carry around. Very, very impressive. It should be producing well over 1,000 lumens with the 5 amp driver. Convoy does offer a few other models, not in the M2 range, but I think the M21B range at 6 amps and 8 amps. I did a short ceiling bounce test as well, and I found that it actually ramps down to 45% quickly at 2 minutes 45. Prior to that, it slowly starts to decrease the output of the flashlight, but for the first minute or so, it does hold that 100% quite well, almost at full efficiency, which is really important for me because some lights will ramp down almost immediately, and especially if you've got a thrower, you want that to be able to illuminate an area for a significant period of time, at least hold it for 30 seconds before starting to ramp down. So very impressive. I think due to the 5 amp driver in here, that does help to regulate the temperature a bit more. I found that this emitter, when you drive it at 8 amps, it just gets way too hot to hold even after a couple of minutes. So I measured the color temperature at 5300K and the color rendering index at 60. So 60, again, it's not too high, but for a flashlight like this where you're focusing more on throw and visibility, it's not really important for me. And I do like the tint of this LED a lot more. It's, you know, much more neutral. I find a lot of throwers use the SFT40 or you know, even LEP flashlights that have a CCT of just over 6,000. It's kind of a bluish tint, which I don't mind, but this tint is actually a lot more easy on the eyes. If you want to see more of the measurements in extra details, just go down to the description. I've popped them on a post on my website. So a few considerations for you guys as well. I did notice the finish is a little slippery, and you know, I find that a lot of tactical flashlights, they have a kind of knurling on the battery tube. This one doesn't have any knurling. It's a simplistic battery tube. I like the design of it, especially the tail cap there with these little cutouts. I wonder if you could put a tritium vial or something like that in there. They don't look too deep, so they're probably not. But that's something to keep in mind. It does sort of slip around a bit in the hands. You know, the anodization also is kind of smooth, but that's, yeah, something to keep in mind. There's also no onboard charging. For those of you who are new to flashlights as well, you're going to need an external 18650 charger. So you can search them online. I think, you know, they're pretty cheap, $5 to $10. You can get a decent one, but that's another consideration. Also, tactical switch would make it perfect in my opinion, and I've been looking around for ways to modify that switch to get just a half momentary press, half momentary on at the end. At the moment, you sort of have to press that switch entirely to switch the light on and off, but yeah, I need to look into that. Maybe there might be some modifications needed to the driver as well. If that's the case, then I'm probably just going to leave it as is. It works really well, and I do find that it holds that mode memory even after half a second of that flashlight being off. Sometimes I find these flashlights, they say that they have memory mode, but you actually got to have the flashlight off for even 1.5 seconds, and the time in which you turn the flashlight on and off, it's already changed modes. But I haven't found that to be an issue with the M2. It holds that memory mode even after 0.5 seconds. So all in all, at the end of the day, I'm going to give this flashlight a 5-star rating. I mean, for 20 to 30 bucks, there's no other pocket thrower out there that comes close in terms of value, performance, and overall quality. It's definitely my new favorite pocket thrower. I've linked to the M2 on the AliExpress Convoy store in the video description. There's a few places that sell Convoy lights, but I found that they're actually cheapest direct from the AliExpress Convoy store. That's the one that Simon runs. I don't get any commission from this either, so yeah, that's something you might want to check out if you're interested in buying this light. And yeah, if you found this video helpful, do me a favor and click the like button, even share it around. That would really help me to get my videos out to more people. And if you want to see me make more reviews, make sure you subscribe.